Hello everyone. My name is Varalika Mendiratta. Currently, I'm pursuing BA LLB honors from Faculty of Law, Aligarh Muslim University. I'm taking this interview on behalf of SCC Online and Upeksha Education. Our guest for today's interview is Advocate Faisal Sherwani. He is an advocate on record at the Supreme Court of India and a partner at L&L Partners Law Offices, formerly known as Luthra and Luthra. His area of specialization is dispute resolution, with a diverse legal practice in constitutional law, Negotiable Instruments Act, white-collar crimes, etc. He completed his graduation from Aligarh Muslim University and further pursued his LL.M. from George Washington University, United States of America. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to interview you.
Thank you very much for the very kind introduction, Varalika, and I'd like to thank you and SCC Online for making this possible.
Sure, sir. So, sir, to begin with, I would like to ask you how you developed your interest in the field of law.
I appreciate your question, particularly because it's a more straightforward one. I was incidentally talking to some law students yesterday, and they asked me how I developed an interest for dispute resolution. The answer to that was that I hadn't, because the interest which I had developed and the passion which I do have is for law. And from times immemorial, I think the most classical duty of a lawyer was to advise his client and to resolve disputes if he had one. And I think that is the path which I treaded. But to answer your question more directly, I did have a taste for law from a rather early age. Right after my basic schooling, I developed a fascination for subjects such as political thought, history, and economics. I was drawn towards writings which advocated freedom of speech and expression, liberty of the individual, freedom of religion. And before I knew it, I was drawn towards law. And when you have a taste for those fundamental human freedoms, you will find that you will be drawn necessarily towards constitutional law. And I think that's how it started for me. I remember when I read maybe sometime in higher secondary school about the writings of John Stuart Mill, who's the great British liberal thinker. He compared silencing one individual to robbing the entire human race. So I found that at that point of time to be the most powerful thing that could ever be said or read. And I think that's how it all started for me, yeah.
Indeed, sir, it's very inspirational. So, you did your graduation from Aligarh Muslim University. So, how was your experience there?
I have very fond memories of my time at Aligarh. The education which I got at university there was, of course, an extremely lively place to study law. I remember it to be extremely multicultural place, and I think that is why I think I chose Aligarh. It wasn't by chance, because it's a university which attracts not only the urban elite, but students from across the face of India, some from abroad, and that gives you it serves as a delightful melting pot, if you will, to exchange ideas, to understand each other, to exchange views. And I think that is what a university education should be. And I was fortunate to get that there. And I think one of the most important things that I learned at the university in Aligarh and the Faculty of Law was that even as friends, we can disagree. And often I continue to disagree with my friends today. But I think those liberal thoughts and ideas, that's where I started getting them, and that's what I cherish most about my time at Aligarh.
I couldn't agree more. I have the same experience, and it is actually so multicultural and it's actually fulfilling. Okay, so to move forward, so belonging to a non-NLU institution, so did you ever face any hurdles in that arena?
I suspect not, but I guess we will never know, right? and let me make this somewhat clear. I never applied to study at an NLU, and therefore there couldn't have possibly ever been an opportunity for me to study at any of them. And that's what I meant when I said that Aligarh was not out of circumstance, it was out of clear choice. I did want to study at the Faculty of Law at Aligarh Muslim University, and I wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, I would be happy to go back in time and do it all over again. Sometimes I wish I could. And I don't. I think it becomes a matter of whether you view a particular challenge or a circumstance as a hurdle. You're bound to have hurdles in life, right? And you can go about looking for excuses, and you can say it's because I'm not from an NLU, or because I'm from a particular ethnicity, or XYZ. But I think that's looking for excuses, and you more often than not, problems have a way of solving themselves. And I think that's how I've always approached things. Uh, my strongest inclination, after all, was to practice law, right? And the Faculty of Law at Aligarh gave me the perfect platform to do that. You know, it was a stone's throw away from Delhi, but you equally had the opportunity of interacting with lawyers and judges from the Allahabad and Lucknow benches, because that is the High Court which serves the jurisdiction. You had young aspirants who would be preparing for the magistracy exams on the eve of graduation. So you had a wide, diverse breed of people who you could talk to and interact with. I do want to say that, you know, India is too big a country to have all of the bright minds at one place or at one kind of school. So therefore, it's more about the individual and what you bring to the table and what you want to do with yourself. And I think that is what people will notice about you, generally speaking, in life also.
So that's an excellent outlook towards it. It's truly very inspirational. So after coming back to India, when you joined Parekh and Company, how was your experience there?
Well, actually, I didn't start at Parekh and Company when I came back. I started at a very respectable senior counsel's office, Mr. Rakesh Trivedi. And no mention of my career can actually be truly complete without mentioning his contributions. He's a person with a very tough work ethic, not so much for us, but for himself. He would work late into the nights, and he would ask us sometimes on occasion to pull out a case law. But truly, you could see that he didn't need us. He was a one-man army. And I sort of felt worthless after a while, and that's why I moved on to see if I could be more useful elsewhere. And I landed up at Parekh and Company. Delightful experience again. That's where I really developed an interest in the advocate on record exam, because Mr. Parekh, Mr. Samir Parekh himself was an advocate on record, is an advocate on record. There were also a number of other people at the firm who left an indubitable impression on me. I wouldn't want to name all of them in extenso, but if you want to learn law and learn practicing law, I think it's one of the best boutique law offices to start for a young lawyer. And my formative years, that's where I forged the strongest relationships and friendships, and that's where I had most of my life. There was not much of a life outside of office at that point of time.
Great. So, sir, how did you go to like LNL Partners? How is your experience there? What do you think are the factors that led you to the position you are at today?
Well, I went to, it was Luthra and Luthra back then when I actually reached the firm. I think it was a little bit like transitioning into the major league, you might say. Again, very rich and vibrant place as it was before it is today. There's so many bright minds, you know, doing what they do best, diverse practice areas. I think I wanted, you know, a wider sort of an experience of handling high stake matters for large corporates, foreign corporates and clients with high net worth. I wanted to look deeper into their lives and how they operate, what are their requirements. And I think those possibilities, the position to explore those possibilities, it was nudged me in the direction of, working at Luthra and Luthra. No regrets, absolutely. Yeah.
So, sir, how is a regular day like for a partner at one of the biggest law firms in India? As a law student, I would definitely want to know what is the life of a partner at such a firm.
Well, no regular day is akin to the other. That's what I would say. Um, you might think that large law firms are a little bit like madhouses. Okay, they're demanding clients, tempers surge. There are arguments. You're rushing to court. Uh, there is always a madness about everything. Everything has a deadline. And I remember when I was a law student, I met a lawyer who had worked at a premier law firm himself, and then he had sort of ditched that to start working a rather unconnected venture. And I remember asking him why he had, switched, goalposts. And he said that, look, tier one law firms are fine and all of that, and you might just do well financially and all of that. But by the age of 30 or something between 35, you will have your first heart attack. But and it's what he told me that wanted me to explore the possibility of working at a tier one law firm a little bit more. Actually, I'm still waiting for my first heart attack. It hasn't come. So when you actually look at it, if a place is that crazy and it is a madhouse and all sorts of things are happening, new things are happening, why would you not want to be a part of it? Of course you would want to be a part of it. And I constantly, whatever range of emotions I have, I mean, it keeps me happy, worried, concentrating, learning, all of those range of emotions. It keeps me hungry to learn more. They keep going through me, and in all of this I have learned to tutor myself to be cool, calm and composed. Okay, the three C's, which I think are the qualities which any good lawyer must imbibe. So if as long as you learn to be cool, calm and composed, you will be able to get through the process, I think. And whatever, I mean, there are a range of roles that you may play as a partner. You will obviously have to be the patient listener to the client. You will have to be the hopefully wise advisor. You will have to be the counsel in court on occasion. You will have to be the chief strategist. And you should have a spine, permit me to say, if everything comes crashing down like a house of cards, you should be able to take and shoulder the blame if you have a spine. So how those roles will pan out on a day-to-day basis may differ, but broadly speaking, that's the script, I think.
Well, so when you look back at your journey, so what are the major challenges that came along your way and how did you overcome them?
So like I said, I don't think there were very many challenges other than the usual hurdles which any young lawyer will face, initially. You want to do well and you want to achieve everything, right? But there will be the odd hurdle. There will be some friction. There will be challenges at most bends and parts. It goes back to your earlier question. I mean, whether you faced hurdles because you were from, a law school which was not an NLU. But I never looked for reasons for whatever difficulties or frictions there might have been. The profession, you see, there will be hurdles in law, in life, in everything. But I think the profession isn't meant to be instant coffee. It's more a marathon, less of a sprint. And you might fall off your horse every now and then, but the profession permits you to get up, dust yourself off, and try all over again. But I don't think I could put my finger on a hurdle and showcase one for you, because I think I got over them and I don't particularly remember them anymore.
When new interns or graduates join your law firm, so what are your expectations from them and how could they build a good impression in the eyes of the partners?
Well, I suppose there could be a bunch of factors, really. That's an interesting question. For someone fresh out of law school, I would possibly like to understand how you've done at law school, whether you have an academic bent of mind, whether you have a thirst for knowledge, a hunger to learn, a wealth of ideas, maybe. And far be it from me to doubt your credentials, which you may have obtained, during law school examinations. But the more comprehensive and the more thorough your knowledge, I think, of law is, the better. And all of such knowledge you may not necessarily gain at law school, at least not in the traditional sense of taking exams and all of that. but you should strive to do well there also. But you should have a bright mind. You should maybe you have publications, maybe other rich experiences, maybe you've done some internships. I don't know which are interesting, but you've done something interesting. But I think there is just no one straight jacket checklist or formula. You might have written 10 publications and I might think all 9 of them suck terribly, but maybe there's one of those that really, ignites my interest in you. So it's difficult to say. We all partners are also humans, right? We have our human limitations, we have our prejudices. But yes, we're all out there looking for, why do you look at these factors really, Varalika? You're looking for passion, right? And that passion might ultimately manifest in anything. It could be a publication, it could be the way you speak. So do develop your communication skills, but learn when to be silent also. Is very often said that a person should go to law school because that person talks very much, or that person argues everything. But I don't think that is a first-rate qualification at all, right? Many members and colleagues will say that it's not a first-rate, qualification at all. Your ability to talk fluently may certainly be an aid to your success, but you must learn to develop a measured approach. I think scientific temperament and deducing rational conclusions, making reasoned arguments, I think is what you will look for in a young law graduate or in a young law student who is just, and does he have great ideas, fresh ideas, like Socrates said to the young Greeks. If you have something to say, sooner or later you'll know how to say it. So words may not be instantly important. As long as you have a great ideas, the words will come themselves, I'm sure. So all of those little things, those factors, I think it's difficult to mark it on a checklist. It may vary from person to person.
So still, it was really helpful to know all that. So in conclusion, I would like to ask you, what will be your general advice to all those aspiring lawyers like me? And it could be general advice or regarding LLMs or internships. So what will be your say on that?
Well, you might want to quite understand the concept of an internship, or let's say higher studies, a degree like LLM or some other degree. You need to understand whether that is something which is a pit stop on the larger journey, whether it's a means to an end, or is it that the end in itself. I think that is where the perception lies. So I think the larger goal is to have a fulfilling career at the bar, maybe being in a position where you can help the less privileged, if that is the larger journey that you're looking forward to. Or maybe you want to be in a position where you can help the more privileged people hold on to their money. I don't know what might work for you. So depending on what your larger goal is, I would say read indiscriminately but eclectically. There are no prizes for finishing books from cover to cover, unless the process ignites your mind and it makes you think critically and analytically. I constantly have this debate with my wife where she says, "You've not finished so many books," and I finished reading so many books. And I say there are no prizes for that. You need to learn to think critically. That's my advice to the young law students also. Develop also a taste for specializations, but generally read everything. I think it was Lord Henry Brougham who said that a lawyer must know everything about something and something about everything. So he was an English barrister. He said it in the 1820s. I think he had a dispute resolution lawyer in mind at that point of time. But see what interests you. I think the general advice is treat law as a vast science, okay? And there should be repetition in your study. So it should be a study rather than reading. You need to study law. Write and publish if you can. You can start with the informative pieces, like the ones which tell you about what a judgment is. But the greater value writings, I think, are those where you present a fresh idea, a perspective that no one else has thought of or looked at. I think that is what you must strive for. And if you follow these little tidbits, you might very well land that coveted internship which you have in mind, that your heart so much desires, or maybe that degree from a foreign university, maybe. But if you don't, I think the larger advice is all of this, if you follow it, it'll turn you into a professional and into what a lawyer should be. And therefore, even if you don't get everything that your heart desires, that's life instantly. you will learn to deal with it and continue to strive forward. You should also, and this is the last bit of it, I think there should be a moral fabric to you. You might be extremely brilliant, permit me to say, but unless you are able to develop trust, that a courtroom lawyer especially should have, that you inspire confidence, your brilliance and intelligence may be of little consequence. Even think of it today, in the art of convincing, you are more likely to trust somebody that you like rather than somebody that you despise. So we should all try and be, better people. I think I'm not saying that it's a popularity contest, but somebody who is likable, and it might just end up helping you in your social circles also.
Totally
That's the
fair.
advice.
This has been so great, sir. It was really a pleasure and a great opportunity to interview you, and it has been indeed a learning experience and truly insightful. Thank you so much.
It's delightful for me also, Varalika. The feelings are very mutual. Thanks.